Okay, so now it says we're live. So I'm going to test it on my phone. Hello, everybody. If you're here, please let us know. Please say hello. Please say that you can hear us. It's definitely Mercury and full on retrograde because we've already had tech issues this morning. And I want to make sure I got one thumbs up. So that's a good sign. Let me just double check. Yes, it does look like we're live. So we should be good to go. Okay.
Perfect.
So, okay, we can both hear each other now and we are ready to roll. So, hello, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for dealing with us this morning on this beautiful, I don't know where you're at, but it is rainy, rainy, rainy here. So, Karen, what's your weather? Are you guys clear?
So we're clear,
Okay.
I mean, mostly sunny. There's a few clouds
Is
out
it?
there. I'm in the Seattle, Washington area.
It's so
And
my daughter's up in that area too, and she's like, it's so weird because it's sunny here, and I'm like, it's been raining here where I'm at for like 2 weeks.
okay, Jennifer, where are you? I forget.
Right now I'm in Arkansas. It's hard to keep up because we move so much. So yeah, so today we've been in Arkansas a couple weeks now. I don't
Right.
even know exactly how many days, but it's so bizarre. Like when we got here, I couldn't believe all the rain. And so we looked it up and their rainfall is very in line with Seattle. I think the only difference is here it comes like in downpours, whereas Seattle, it's kind of misty all the time.
Right.
Definitely interesting for sure. But I also think it's not quite a normal year here, from what I can understand from people that are local, that there's a lot of moisture here. But
Okay. Okay. And is it
anyway,
warm with the moisture? So
it
it's
is. It is. It's so weird because, growing up, and it was like the other day we got ready to go to town, and my husband and I'm like, I better grab a jacket because it's raining. So I immediately think, oh, it's cold. It's chilly outside. We walked out. It was like a sauna. I was like, it's like 70 degrees, 75 degrees, and it's wet and raining. And I'm like, this is the most bizarre thing ever. But yeah, so it's
I love it.
definitely interesting. So now that we've got all the kinks out, hello everybody, good morning. If you're joining us, let us know what your weather's like because that's what we're talking about so far. But I am so super excited, you guys, to finally be able to talk and have Karen come on and talk to you guys because she's absolutely amazing. She's I don't even know how to explain it. I don't like to get into all the credentials, although you're a doctor, there's so many amazing things there, but when I see you, you're so vibrant and your soul is so like on fire with this radiance and this brilliance and this beauty. And when we got to talking and you said embody, I was like, okay, she's my girl because I'm all about embodied grace, right?
Saw that. It's so
So
cool.
yeah, when you're talking about embodying the feminine, I was like, oh my gosh, we have got to talk. I can't wait to have you on the show. So I'm so grateful. Thank you for coming on and being a guest and letting me interview you. Tell us a little bit about, I like to do these really laid back, and I hope I don't throw you a question or a curveball that you're not open to, but I am so like in awe of this. How did you go from medicine to energy work? And I love the integration piece because one of the things my guides always talk about is how do you integrate the spirituality and the human and bring them together so that you can
Right.
live fully and wholly in this lifetime. So I would love to hear your story on how you were able to bridge those together or how those came together.
Cool. So I'll give you kind of the short version, and if you want more information, we can go into it. So I grew up very much a left brain in my head person. I mean, I would literally have the thoughts, my mind is riding my body like a horse. So I didn't realize I was disconnected because, I would say, I'd feel if I'd sprain an ankle. I knew if I was hungry, I must be in my body. What is this? What is this? So anyway, so I got into medicine. And unfortunately, being a doctor, you're really encouraged to ignore your own needs. So that just sort of worsened the whole thing. So there was that aspect that was going on. And then the way I got into energy healing is I started feeling, this nudge inside that says something isn't quite right. Because now I always had these sort of spiritual um, part of me too. I mean, I learned transcendental meditation when I was a senior in high school.
Oh, wow.
So I had this, this thing. And when I was a little kid, and I'd be reading books and daydreaming. One of the daydreams I had was being in Lord of the Rings and being a healer, hands-on healer. I mean, this true story, But then I got into medicine and in my head and all that. And then I started feeling like, something's missing. Something is missing. What is it? And I was doing learning about mind body, reading Joan Borisenko. I was actually at a Carolyn Mace conference, and I happened to mention to the woman in the lunch line that was behind me, I've been getting this tingling in the palms of my hands. What is this? And she said, oh, it sounds like energy. Look up healing touch. Now, this was in 2000. We actually had computers and we could Google in 2000. Did I find the Healing Touch website? No. Within 2 links, I found the Barbara Brennan School of Healing website. And when I read about the combination of learning energy healing and personal growth, something inside me went yes. And that was really when I started seriously this whole personal growth thing. And that's where I had started, because my teachers would tell me, you're not in your body. You are not in your body. And what
does that mean? Yeah.
What does this mean? So, I did the practices because, left brain girl with all of these right brain people, I felt so like a fish out of water, but that's okay. And then one day I had this experience of feeling vibration in my body. I was like, I'm feeling vibration. This is really odd. So I was actually doing some extra mentoring with a healer. And she said, congratulations, you're in your body. Oh. So that's kind of how I got into energy healing and then into my body, started realizing the power of embodiment. And so for years, I continued having a small healing practice along with working in medicine. And then I started getting back into this thing. I'm not fulfilled anymore. I'm not happy. What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? The whole trying to figure it out brain-wise, blah, blah, blah. And I finally realized I had to stop medicine. So I had to go through all of when you make a big change in your life, I know you've had that experience. I know many of us listeners have had that experience. It's, it's like, really? But I need to stay here. And I really had to give myself permission and to work through all the voices that said, I put all this time into this. I'm so good at it because I am good at it. And then give myself permission to say, stop, retire. It's okay. And let's just, what do I want to do? What wants to blossom? What wants to emerge? Yeah. And then, I'll stop there. And you can ask questions.
I could totally just keep listening because it's so amazing. There's a couple of the things that you said that I think would be really important to hit on right now because especially coming into the spiritual piece of things, right? Like I think it's really important sometimes for people to understand that sometimes it's just that something's missing. Like I just don't know. I can't put my finger on it. I don't understand it. I don't even know what it is. Because I think a lot of people think it's going to be something more dramatic than that, right? Like this big aha moment or these great big fireworks or whatever. And it's like, no, there's just something more. Like you just feel yourself being called to something more. And that's actually the first book I wrote, Embodied Grace, A Woman's Path to Empowerment. That's what it was for me. It's like, I felt I was happy with my life, but there was just something. There was just something that just was calling me and something more. On top of that, like I was I was not stepping into the psychic piece of me at all outside of this close-knit part of my family. Like everybody in my family knew, and it was like you only talk about it at the kitchen table where it's safe kind of thing. But it's amazing how that little tiny kind of almost a whisper or this little, what is this something more? And then you do go through these things of what does it mean to be in your body? Like, what does that even mean? And it's so hard to explain until you start to experience it. But it's funny that you're like, oh, I felt the vibration. I can remember like intuitively. So in the psychic part of me, I understood completely. But the human part of me was not like, I'm like, what do you mean I'm in my body? And I'm like, I like to be up in La La Land. Like, I am good
Right,
being
right,
up there all the time. Like, that's comfortable for me. So when I first started really practicing this idea of being fully into, because to me, being in my body made a little bit of sense, but the integration, that was the word that
right.
really helped me understand. But I had to pretend for a long time that I was in a roller coaster. You know, those roller coasters where the things come over your shoulders and then
Yes.
snap in your crotch and you're like, you're in. I had to do that. I'd be like, okay, bringing all my essence in and I'm going to bring it down. And then I would like snap it in. I had to do that for a while until I fully learned what it felt like to be integrated and fully embodied.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely have. Well, it's like if you haven't experienced it, you don't know you're missing it. I mean, and so you have people giving you feedback and you're kind of going, what? It's really true. It's interesting. And that's, and I'll kind of go into the kind of work we do. That's the whole point in having coaches and mentors,
Mhm.
because you don't know what you don't know until you finally learn it. It's so
Right.
interesting. And you need people to help. Yeah, I mean, in energy healing school, the feeling the different levels of the field,
Mhm.
I would practice those first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh chakra and energy level exercises every day for months before I started saying, I could, get to the point where I could start
Actually
feeling
feel
it.
the energy.
And I could,
Mhm.
like right now, I can feel it. It's like having a soap bubble between
Mhm.
my hands where a couple of the edges of the energy field are touching. But, you don't know you also, well, I know you've had this experience too, where people say you can do it, but we don't know we can do it because
Right.
we're from the time we're born, these sort of experiences of our multidimensionality, if I can term it that, are not, in, encouraged is the wrong word. Nobody's saying, oh, that's, you're
They don't teach us how to do
yeah,
that.
we're not just yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's not encouraged. It's not. We're not told that that's what it is. So it's like it's gone. I mean,
Right.
it's like, and so then here you were up above your head. Here I was in my head, but not anywhere else. And yeah, so like you, I had to practice, do these practices over and over and over and over and over, to really get in the body because it's so, it's
So
so amazing.
so I know you do so many things, but when you use the term embody the feminine, let's go into that a little bit deeper.
Sure. So this is actually so fun because when I look back, it's like obvious that I mean, my history is I was an OBGYN doctor. I practiced in Seattle for 28 years. So I was in the physical feminine. I mean, delivering babies, helping women through pregnancy, office visits, people coming in and telling me their stories and, going through their fears and working out how can we help you and all that. So I was really into the feminine, but when I was doing energy healing, I hadn't really kind of put together a focus. It was so funny. And then when I did some further work last year I took some classes through Feminine Power because I wanted to learn a little bit more about being a facilitator, transformational facilitation. And she talked a lot about the feminine. And that's when it's like, oh, that's me. This is it. Because what is, I really got the words to speak to the differences between what I'm going to call the masculine power structure and the feminine power structure and how they different. And how it also really realized this whole thing I also work with, which is making the switch from success based to fulfillment based. Because most of us women, especially those of like my age, your age, we started doing the career success like the men do, which is masculine, which is linear, logical, step by step, hierarchical, and external. Okay, we didn't realize the feminine is how you get to fulfillment. Fulfillment comes within. The feminine is coming within, intuitive, inspirational. And you want to marry the strategy, the masculine, with the intuition and inspiration of the feminine. And then we go into psychology, switch from Maslow's force level, which is success, and self-esteem to the fifth level, which is fulfillment. It's like I put all that together. So really this whole feminine embodiment means we have to get back in our bodies. We have to begin to connect with our uterus. I this weekend did my first retreat called Let Your Uterus Speak, all about embodying the feminine, because I'm going on and on, but I
No,
had this
it's good.
inspiration a couple months ago that I wanted to lead some meditations in feminine embodiment. And what I realized, what just came to me, was as we drop into ourselves, the first thing we need to discover is safety. Being in our body, being in our uterus, our tubes, our ovaries, our vagina, our clitoris, our womb, this womb of creation inside, because we have so much beliefs and attitudes that we've taken in from from society, from our parents, authority figures, church, blah, 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 that puts women down.
That it's
That
or
makes
that
us
it's
distrust,
right.
degrade, devalue. We need to switch that. And then I realized the second step was confidence. As you have safety and feel trust in yourself, then you can have confidence. And then explore the whole thing, pleasure.
Mm.
Pleasure in your body, in your senses, because to me, that is the foundation for joy and bliss. I mean, you can get joy and bliss even if you don't trust your body and don't trust sensory based pleasant feelings, which is what pleasure is. But to really have the full gamut, you want to get down into the pleasure and bring it up and out. Okay. And then creativity, because creativity is this from both this womb of creation in ourselves and this whole the feeling good of creation, and then your own empowerment and your inner knowing comes into play. Anyway, so that's what I was doing. It was so much fun. Oh my gosh, it was fun. I'm going to do it again.
It feels totally in divine alignment too, because I will say, as you were talking about that, what's popping up in my mind is there's been a lot of work like for the clients that I've been working with. There's been a lot of generational stuff, and just like you were talking about
Oh,
with
yeah.
the women and being fully in our feminine and being able to embrace all of it, the sexuality piece and the even just like the cycles, right? Like it was, we
Oh,
just didn't talk about it, right? Like, don't talk about it. It's dirty. It's not. It's physical human experience, right? So
right.
there's all of these things where we've had this weird energy, and it's not even ours, right? This weird,
Yes.
don't talk about it. It's be secret, and
Right.
all of that, I feel like inhibits us from fully coming back to my word, integrate. That seems to be a big word for me lately, like
Yes.
helping to
Yes.
teach is integration, how to again be human and know that not only is this a human thing to be safe and feel okay in the body that you have, right? But then on the spiritual piece, working with those chakras and opening that
Right.
energy, and then bridging the gap. My guides literally, I just recorded a message the other day, and it was like, don't get so wrapped up in what's going on that you forget to actually enjoy the pleasures of life, like the pleasure of
Yes.
the rain, the sound of the rain, right? The sound
That's
of the
right.
rain on the roof or the window or whatever, or like the way that the breeze looks, or the way the trees are moving, or the way the wine tastes, or like the juice, the way, drinking juice. Like, don't lose out on the pleasure of those. There's so many things that are pleasurable, right? That fuzzy blanket that just feels
Mhm,
like
mhm.
luxury when you
Yes.
curl in it, and the smell of coffee in the morning. Like, all of those things are part of embracing and embodying the good stuff in life, right?
Absolutely. And I've been on I mean, practically the same thing as what you're saying. For me, it's feeling, that the doorway into being in our body, one of them is exactly what you're saying, is pleasure, and going through the five senses, and exactly what you're saying. Touch your face, touch your scarf. How does it feel? Are you wearing clothes that feel good on? If you're not, throw them away. Taste.
Right?
chocolate. Oh, divine. Smell. I mean, we have this rose bush outside we decided we're gonna have a rose bush. It smells divine. So my husband cut me a blossom last week, and I had it on my desk, just smelling it every so often. This is sensory pleasure. And it actually gets you in your body, because you have to be in your body to experience your senses. You know, and the other point I'm going to bring up is there's a relationship between pleasure, again, that's this pleasant physical feelings, okay, and sensuality and sexuality, but they are not the same thing. We have such, again, old beliefs, old attitudes, negative social milieu around our sexuality, and we conflate sensuality and pleasure with sexuality, and I think that's part of our hang up for being afraid to be in our bodies. But if we can say, they're actually separate, they're related but separate. So let's have our way we go in, our doorway in. Pleasant physical sensations. What are you hearing? Like you said, the wind and the breeze, the water trickling when you take a walk, looking outside and I'm seeing the sun on the leaves, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like there's something in this too about when we really learn to be in that, and this is for men and women, like, because the feminine
totally.
and the energy that we're trying to work with right now, as in this ascension process that we're going through,
Right.
is all about being able to, again, balance, right? Balance, because
Yes.
you have to have both. You have to have the drive to get up and do something, right? Do the dishes or whatever it is
Right.
you've got to do. But how can you, like you said, marry that? Like, when you do the dishes, do you love the soap? Do you love the way it smells? Do you like to watch the bubbles? Do you like what it feels like to get the dishes clean? Like, how can you integrate that? And within that, it actually helps us come into almost a meditation space where we're literally being in the present moment and in the now, which is where everything powerful comes from.
Exactly. And that for me is another way I use this sort of senses work. It's a way to get into the now, because you're observing what is going on right now and noticing how you feel and think about it. And as you're in it, it's sort of all of that. And I think you're so right. I mean, I'm mostly work with women because of my background and what I'm doing.
Right.
But truly it applies in slightly different ways, but very similar, a parallel track with the guys, because we have the masculine and feminine aspects of it. I mean, one of the things I talked about, with this workshop, you don't need to have a uterus to connect with your feminine organs. I'm talking female organs being the uterus, tubes, ovaries, vagina, clitoris.
And I work with mostly women as well, but I feel like even as for women, we need to understand that we can have masculine and feminine at the same time. Like, yeah.
And you have the energetic organs, even if you don't have a physical one. Because I truly believe, you and I, if I'd had a hysterectomy, I could still connect with my uterus.
Absolutely.
And if I have a trans woman, she can connect with her uterus, even though she never had one. So it's energetically there. The creation is there. And I haven't thought about it. I haven't gotten any, divine downloads about working with men and their feminine, but there's ways in there too.
Well, I think it's so simple. Like, I think sometimes we make things so much harder, but it's the same thing. What are you doing? Like, if you're, working in the garage, are you enjoying it? Are you fully present in it? Are you like, or if you're eating, dinner, are you enjoying it? Are you taking a minute to appreciate what's going on? It's all about slowing down and really being in the moment and allowing yourself to, it comes back to what you said, allowing yourself to experience pleasure, I think, is a big thing. And figuring out how to make that not have that negative connotation, right? I think sometimes there's certain keywords like wants and desires, or, that a lot of times I'm like, one of the things I'll ask women is, what do you want? And a lot of times they have no idea. They're like, they don't know, because they've never stopped to think about it. And I think sometimes those, especially a lower chakra energy, you've denied yourself so long
Right.
You have to energetically open up the possibility of even being able to receive, right?
It was so interesting. I was with my retreat. I had one woman, which was actually perfect because I could work really intensely with her. I mean, it was so intense, but yes, it was so like she was so disconnected from her second chakra and her female organs. And so teaching her one of the second chakra exercise that I used way back in energy healing school, which is where you stand up and you roll your hips as if you're polishing the inside of the barrel. And at first when she did it, she was going, "Ew, this doesn't feel good at all." So I did a first chakra exercise to get, kind of bypass for the moment. And then we went up to the second chakra again, and we continued to do some work to allow herself to be embodied. And by the end, she said, "This is fun."
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's amazing to me how much energy and physical, because one of the things my guides always talk about is 5 pillars, right? So we've got physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and then galactic energy. So the astrology and now the photon belt and all of the energy that's coming in. And so all of those things can mean galactic. But just the physical part of it is a huge thing. Like physical, and then the emotions, because that all ties into it, right? So
Right.
I really do feel like there's something about knowing that when you start understanding the energetics and the physical body,
Mm-hmm.
and how they will then, like when you're in that space of energy and physical, how it will unlock the emotions and the other pieces that all
Mm-hmm.
blend into those 5 pillars, and how that all goes together. I feel like there is definitely, I know you've probably heard this as well. People have been talking for the longest time about the rise of the masculine, the rise of the feminine. It's not so much like the feminine movement back in the day. It's more about understanding it from a new, deeper spiritual level instead of judging it.
Right. It's really true. I mean, I really also enjoy helping people understand the context because, up until 100 years ago, women were in survival mode. We were trying to survive, get food and shelter and clothing for our kids, our family. That was the focus. This was the focus for thousands of years. And then, World War II came in, and that's when really women needed to start shifting out of the traditional roles and start moving into careers doing it the way the guys did, the masculine power structure. And it's only recently we've switched to fulfillment. But if you think about that, it is really a short time. So there's this,
In the overall scheme of
women
things, yeah, it's
in
like a
the
blip.
overall, in Western civilization, women have been, we couldn't vote. Our ability to own property and have businesses went kind of in and out over the thousands of years. Sometimes we could in some civilizations, sometimes we couldn't. So it's really this huge sea change that we're in the midst of right now.
Yeah.
Is bringing the empowered masculine, empowered feminine together,
Mm-hmm.
giving credence to both,
Mm-hmm.
but that we didn't before.
No, I love that. And it comes back to like generational stuff. So
So much.
I feel like that's what a lot of us are doing that are called to this work right now. And those of you that are watching, like, remember guys, if you have questions, please drop questions in there. We're going to wrap it up here in just a minute. I like to keep these to about half an hour because otherwise we'll just keep going on forever.
I know we could talk forever. This
I
is
know
great
we
stuff.
could talk for so long about so many different things. But the generational stuff has really been coming up a lot, and also as we're moving into the ascension and we're understanding things, but it's almost like we do need to clear. And so I feel like a lot of us doing this work right now, and a lot of the people that are stepping into knowing that they're ready for that work to be done, we're clearing energetics on a level that's we won't be able to understand, because it's like we're clearing paradigms from generations past and helping to clarify and cleanse the energy as a whole so that we can become these fuller, more whole beings.
Right.
So, yeah.
I so agree. And I really feel very strongly that as I work through my own issues with pleasure, because I had definitely had a lot of those, for many, many years, I not only help myself, but I'm helping my kids
Mhm.
and I'm helping my mother, my grandmothers, and all of those because on one hand, there's timelines, and on the other hand, everything's in the now. So it's all happening now. So if I clear it now, I clear the generations, I clear my past lives and future lives, and so we can be who, however you want to call it, your best version of yourself, your highest octave, and of course, understanding. We're always changing and growing and expanding. There's always new realizations to bring into our lives. And it's fun. I want to make one more comment. This was
Yeah,
related
yeah.
to something. I just want to emphasize what you were saying a few moments ago about, you use the kind of the five pillars, but whatever you are, and using the physical as a doorway in. But I think it's so interesting that you can use the physical, the mental, the emotional, the energetic. I'm not sure about the galactic because I'm not
Yeah, that's
as
okay.
really connected to that as you
Yeah.
are, as doorways in to work on these different or work with, heal, whatever you want to call it, come to realizations in each of these areas.
Mhm.
So like what I was telling about my client, where I had her do some physical things, where we were also doing emotional things. We were also, looking at different mental beliefs and things like that. So there's a
Mhm.
lot of doorways in. And it's like
Mhm.
if one doorway, like for her, the physical was a little stuck,
Go
then
to
you
the other one.
work to the other ones, which
Yes.
is great. And
Yeah.
again, come back to what you say, this integration. We are a full system. When I
Yes.
was living just in my head, I was out of my emotions, out of my body, and somewhat connected to my spiritual, energetic aspects, though I didn't call it that at that time. But what we want to do is really be a full system, because then we're both connected to the earth, connected to spirit, connected to our inner knowing, and we expand out. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
So we
I
want all
love
this
that.
integration.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and you're absolutely, I love that point that you make, that the five pillars, the great thing is it doesn't matter which one you start with.
Yes.
It's just once you start working with one and start realizing that there's all of those different aspects, they're all meant to work they're in integration. There's that word again. So they're all meant to work together. And so you don't have to fight yourself, because I think that's one things that we do is fight against or resist whatever that is, whether that's pleasure or emotions or, the energy in our body, or, whatever it is. I feel like there's when you can understand or be open to understanding it on whatever level makes sense, right?
Hmm.
Then start allowing yourself to play with, how does this go together? Oh, I have a pain in my back. Okay, well, did you sleep wrong? Did you sit crooked? Do you need to stretch? Or like, could you ask that muscle in your back, is what's going on? Why am I feeling this way? What is it? And sometimes it's a stuck emotion, right? So it's like all of these different
Right.
things, when we can be more in the space of, I wonder what this is, or be open to it. And then that's when healing can really start coming in. And then some of these concepts, like what we've talked about, make a lot more sense because
Exactly.
you get it in, like, energetically, instead of having to think through it and understand it
Right.
that way. So,
Right.
oh my goodness, Karen, we could totally talk forever because I
I know.
love visiting with you. Everybody, thanks so much for joining us today. I apologize for it's so dark outside, and I tried playing with the lights and I couldn't quite get it right. So I apologize that I'm a little bit dark, but Karen does have a free offer. It's in the description for this video. So definitely go get that. And then, Karen, if you could leave us with something, like, what is and I hate this because I'm always, when I get asked this, I never exactly know how to answer. But like, for me, it's like, if I were to say, what is the one thing I want you to take away? It's like, I want people to know that they have a divine spark within and that they're
Right.
loved. What is your one thing that you could leave us with today?
That's a great question. Let's see what comes to mind. And I guess take a second in, just in your breath, in your belly, and letting your awareness drop down to your hips and pelvis and legs, but stay in the hips and pelvis and just know this is safe. It is safe to feel and come from my hips and pelvis. It is safe.
Love that. Love that. Thank you so, so much for being a guest. You guys, as always, if you have questions, if you're watching the replay, feel free to leave your questions here and we will get back to them as soon as we can. So sending you guys lots of love today. Thanks so much, and we'll see you guys next time.